So now we have got... Well, we've got George. Is that correct?
Yes.
Excellent.
George,
Nice to
welcome.
meet you, George. I'm Mike.
Hey, George, I'm Raj. Have a seat, mate.
Have a seat. Now we'll give you
Grab the
this.
microphone.
Whoops. And we'll just... You're okay?
Yes.
There you go. Perfect.
Perfect placement. That's it. Keep it right there.
Right there.
Locked in.
Perfect. And we'll ask you lots of other questions in a second, but before we crack into it, you're part of the tour.
I'm sorry?
Are you part of the tour from
From America.
From America?
No, we're
You're here.
we're sponsoring this
Oh,
event.
that's right.
Wow.
Excellent. I was just about to say, if you want to
did
have a
know
lie
that,
down,
yeah.
because there's a lot of jet-lagged people around, that's all.
Yeah.
Before we crack into it then, we'll just ask one question. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy?
Yeah.
New Zealand.
All of it.
Yeah,
Just one
I love
word.
it. I've been here 9 times in the last 14 months.
Wicked.
So I've gotten a chance to see not all of the country yet, but I've seen the North Island, the South Island, seen it all through all the different seasons, met a lot of wonderful people.
You may as well
Can't
just
get
move
enough of
here,
it.
mate. Just
might as
move.
well stay.
You know you want to. Just stay.
Find a place.
That's exactly. And, oh, excuse me. I keep doing that. Sorry. Keep dropping the phone. Got me notes. I've got you as Yamaha, Chief Operations Officer and General Partner.
Yes, at Yamaha Motor Ventures. We're the corporate venturing and strategic business development arm of Yamaha Motor.
Yeah.
You know, we're known for our all-terrain vehicles, side-by-sides, unmanned helicopter, which we have here on display today.
See that? That's cool.
We have a robotics division. We make boats, outboard motors, a lot of cool products that
Yeah.
people are familiar with. And we're trying to figure out how to take those vehicle technologies and the robotics technology and put them in the field and do some agricultural robotics and automation.
Literally in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, literally. And actually, one of our investments that we just announced about 2 months ago was Robotics Plus.
That's right. Of which we're going to be
We're
talking
going to check
with.
that out later. Yeah.
Like a second ago. So why did you pick them? Why? What is they so special?
Well, so when we started this journey, one of the things we realized is to be really successful in agricultural automation, you have to have a dual hemisphere strategy. You can't just develop for one location.
Yeah.
It'll be the cultural practices, the growing system, the variety that you may happen to be growing in that area. It'll be too narrow, it'll be too niche.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really have to have a global perspective, and that really requires a dual hemisphere strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I actually learned that from an earlier investment we made in a company called Abundant Robotics. They're an apple harvesting company based in the United States, and they focus just on harvesting apples, but the whole harvest is about 2 months each year. But then they packed everything up and they went to Victoria, the state of Victoria in Australia, and did a second season. And that allows them to really iterate on the technology and then make sure that they're not developing just for one area, but they're developing a broadly useful platform.
Cool.
And so once I saw that, I thought, okay, well, we have to have a partner in the Southern Hemisphere. And then I met Steve Saunders and Alistair Scarfe, the co-founders of Robotics Plus. And I was just amazed at, one, their technical capabilities, but also their broad thinking. Steve has personal investments and partnerships in every stage of the value chain.
Yeah.
One thing we've learned with robotics is sometimes you might actually create a bottleneck. You're more efficient in the field, but maybe the logistics and the pack house
Of course,
can't accept it. You actually have to think about how you automate the entire value chain.
Hello.
And that's where Steve comes in.
Steve.
Look at that.
Welcome, Steve.
It's a beautiful thing.
Welcome. What
Now
makes
you're
you
going to have to
happy?
share that microphone.
me
there.
happy.
All right.
You will have to push the microphone into
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What makes you happy?
You make me happy, George.
Oh, nice.
Good.
We can turn the lights off and leave if you want. That's okay. Don't watch. Facebook won't like that.
Or watch more. I don't know. So,
So I was just saying why we made the investment in Robotics Plus and how you personally bring that kind of deep knowledge of the value chain, not just the actual harvesting, but the pack house, the logistics, the export, the breeding, everything. And that's really important.
Yeah.
If you create an automation solution that simply creates a bottleneck at another point in the chain, you haven't solved any problem. You just created a new, you moved it to another location.
You're still not getting the stuff out the door quicker. You just, you're getting closer, but not actually there.
Well, and that's what impressed me about Robotics Plus is they weren't just focusing on a kiwi harvester, but they had a kiwi pollination platform, a robotic pollinator. They had the apple packer. So they were looking at the pack house. They were looking at different stages of the value chain. And that was really important to us. And we just saw Steve and Alistair as really strong partners. And
Perfect.
So we decided to make that investment, and we're really excited to see what we can do together.
So the investment that you and your focus is that on the in-farm equipment. There's nothing consumer about this, is there?
Well, not just in-farm. Robotics Plus has the apple packer, which is used in pack houses. And we're keen to understand how we can maybe use some of our manufacturing, supply chain, and logistics know-how to help them scale that up and make their apple packer more efficient and more productive. So it's a really exciting opportunity for us to. That was the other thing is Steve brought some of that in-house, not just the outdoor experience, but brought some of the pack house experience as well. Maybe you want to.
Yeah,
you could talk about that for us. That'd be great.
I think the key thing for us is actually solving the labour pain points. So whether that's actually in the field or in any part of the production system, we're facing real global labour challenges doing that menial task work. So, and then by
well, it was highlighted recently. Of course, it was all over the news that we couldn't find anyone to pick stuff and do stuff here in New Zealand.
The first year I can remember actually in kiwifruit it been on the headline 1,200 workers short, and also the apple industry suffering this year for the first time. So it's the first time we've really seen it come to the forefront.
Wow. Yeah.
So the important thing for me is owning the supply chain or having ownership right throughout the supply chain is really understanding those pain points.
Yeah.
And we started the journey a number of years ago because, if we said what are the challenges we think we're going to have in the years to come, rather than thinking where we are now, labour we could see was going to be one of those challenges.
Cool.
Amazing.
I'd add to that. I've traveled the world and I've spoken with growers around the world. And all of the major growers that I've spoken to have all said that the labor issue, as Steve highlighted, is a cap on future growth. And so if you think, how does New Zealand increase its production of kiwi and other exports? Well, you have a labor shortage with the acreage you have now. How do we solve that when you want to double that acreage?
Yeah.
And so that's part of the country's future growth if a large part of your GDP is agricultural exports. So it's a problem we have to solve, and it's a global challenge. It's not about just moving crops to lower labor cost countries. You can't move the soil and the climate and the water and the things that you need to actually produce high quality fresh fruit and produce. So this is a real challenge that we need to solve, and we saw Steve as a great partner to help us lead those efforts in the Southern Hemisphere, and then we could help bring them to the United States and vice versa. If we identify opportunities there, bring them down here and then help collaborate and really create that global network of innovation and technology.
And that's one of the things I heard on the stage was, yes, we can make lots of food and potentially it's 40 million, I think was what the phrase that we were all hearing. 40 million mouths we could feed, and then we've got the premium approach. We could make $20 million steaks or whatever it is. But what about actually the ability to solve the problems for the world? And then take the solutions and then go out to the world, which is what it sounds like you're focused on.
Oh, and Steve's very globally focused. I should hand that back to you.
Yeah, no, our focus is globally. It's actually as from a Robotics Plus point of view, we're about solving a big problem. That's robotics to help feed the world, because we can see this labour issue, this ability to deliver is getting harder and harder. So we're already there's already tensions with 7.6 billion people in the world already on land use, on environment, on resources, and we're talking by 2050, 10 billion mouths to feed. And if you think, you're quite correct in saying, George was correct in saying about the scaling up. So if you even just take our local economy, Zespri with the growth to double its exports or double its production, and we're only just starting that journey and we're already 1,200 workers short.
Exactly.
Still can't do it. Yeah,
so that's just going to multiply year on year now as production levels lift. So, and wherever I go in the world, whether it's New Zealand, America, major issues, I always make the funny comment that Trump's not building a wall to keep Mexicans from coming in. He's building a wall to keep them from going out, because even countries like Mexico have developed their own economy now and growing in food production, and a lot of those Mexicans don't need to come to America anymore, and a lot of them are actually returning home to be part of their own ecosystem. So you've got all these tensions going on globally, and you've got immigration laws tightening as you're seeing these new governments coming in with a real focus on tightening down the borders. So we got a lot of tensions. Then you've got land use, water, environment impact, where we are environmentally as a planet. So all these things are going to become really dominant in the next 10 years. And yet by 2050, we're going to have 10 billion mouths to feed. So really, really interesting problems to solve.
So better crack into it now. This isn't a thing to think about, in 20 years' time we'll solve that. It's like now. You've been getting into it now, as you have to say. You've been going for a few years.
Well, to just follow up on something that Steve mentioned, it's a documented fact that in the United States we have net negative immigration with Mexico. That more Mexicans have been returning back to Mexico over the last decade, and not because they were deported. They are going back voluntarily because the Mexican economy is doing well. And what doesn't go reported is that even Mexico now has a field labor shortage problem. They're importing workers from Central and South America. So it's not something that we can just keep exporting to the next developing country. Yes. At some point, we will run out of workers.
That's right.
People don't want to work in these jobs. They don't want to work out in 100-degree temperature, bent over, picking strawberries for 10 hours a day. And they shouldn't have to. This is not about replacing humans. It's with robots. It's about actually filling the gap and finding other more productive jobs for those people rather than paying them low wage jobs in the field.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, that's great. And where can people find more about you if they want to talk to you about this stuff and more in depth?
Okay. What do you want to know?
Where, when?
Where? How do they find you online?
Because
we've asked some questions and they're looking at us going, well, why didn't they ask that blindingly obvious question?
They'll find them asleep at the airport.
Asleep at the airport was the answer.
I have been on basically a nonstop international travel for the last 5 weeks. I've been to Japan twice, New Zealand twice, Australia twice, Hawaii once, Israel once. And it's because this is a global problem. And so we really have to be traveling and making those connections. It's going to be solved locally, but we have to have a broad global view. Our office is in Menlo Park, California, in Silicon Valley. You can look us up at YMVSV, stands for Yamaha Motor Ventures Silicon Valley, ymvsv.com. My email address is on there. My profile and bio is there.
Great.
Excellent.
That's what I want.
We're always looking for great partners and people that have got innovative technologies that we can either invest in or collaborate with.
Perfect.
Cool.
To build the future of agriculture.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
We're going to bring in Alistair now to have a chat with you too. Well, thanks for your time, mate. Appreciate it.
I'll take that off you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'll grab that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Grab. Thanks, George.
You get to see to that. That's right.
Now you can interview him. Thanks.
Now, we'll give you that. Now he's gone. What did he really want to say? No.
Yamaha.
Yamaha. Who have we got now?
The robotics. What's going on? Okay.
You're going to tell us more about
So
the robotics.
Tell us your story. How did you guys get into this thing?
My story?
Yeah.
Oh. My story is I left school when I was 17 and developed a career in horticulture and fruit production, and over time built a chain of companies from orchard management to pollination to packhouse ownership to one of the founders of Rocket Apple, the small apple in a tube, launching berry initiatives in the Māori space. But along that chain, I started investing in technology, understanding that to maintain or be sustainable in my value chain, that technology was going to play a major role in where we went into the future. And so fortuitously, sort of 10 years ago, I went down to Massey University. I'd heard that they were doing some robotics and mechatronics teaching down there, and I went down there to find out what was going on in the robotics space, and it's where I met young Alistair. He was a lot younger at the time.
Well, so were we all. That's okay.
And so Alistair had completed his degree in mechatronics. There you go. And heading into a PhD. So we got involved and we sponsored or supported Alistair through his PhD. Brought him up into Tauranga, put him in the real environment. In the orchard, and it was really testing to say, can we actually solve these problems? Because taking robots into an orchard environment is incredibly complex. It's You're dealing with sunlight, rain, cloud, terrain, vines, structure. It's not like you got a car part stopping on in a factory floor and a robot does something to it and it moves to the next robot.
Yeah.
We've got to go and find the fruit. We've got to deal with all the things that are thrown at you from Mother Nature and the landscape. So as we went through that journey, Alistair did his PhD on our prototype kiwifruit harvester, which was enough for me to give me the confidence that, hey, we could actually solve these problems. And from there, we really stepped up. We brought Kyle, another engineer, on board, and we developed the robotic apple packers. And then from there, we've just been scaling up. And with obviously Yamaha coming on board recently, we're really starting to scale up the team.
Yeah.
So we're on that sort of we're on the hamster wheel of. But what I love about it is we've got such great talent in New Zealand, and what we lack in New Zealand is creating those ecosystems where we can bring that talent in, and that talent has the ability to really be able to create this really great leading technology. So that's sort of, for me, it's been a mission to not only support my sustainability, but it's also about helping New Zealand create a technology ecosystem, create those opportunities for our young talent to stay here, not go offshore,
Speaking
and create
of young talent,
world-leading technologies.
That's right. So you've got young talent right here. Alistair, you're the CTO, is that right?
Yeah, I am.
And what does that mean?
Come through the company, so... Sorry, what was that?
What does that mean for you?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Well, it's been, I guess, a part of that journey as well. I've come out from university and we've met Steve along the way, and then jumping into this role has been quite a neat transition. Like, the stuff we've got to do has been phenomenal. And being able to lead that from a new lens and a new viewpoint of new technology and new approaches coming through has been pretty exciting. But then being able to build that team around us with that talent, and as Steve was saying, Kiwis, they're awesome at this stuff. And I think it's our practical skill sets and background. We sort of have to be. I grew up dairy farming, and such a brilliant skill set to bring into this sort of thing. If you get practical application, you get what people want to be able to do with the technology.
Yeah.
And I think so many Kiwis are like that. If it's tinkering in the yard with a lawnmower or something, we're just forced to do a lot of that stuff, which is so great. And you see that coming through in the talent that we're bringing in. The farming backgrounds are awesome, but just the general engineers coming through New Zealand, it's pretty exciting what's coming out of here.
Excellent. I've got two questions. First one is, what's mechatronics? Because that's a movie.
Yeah. I get asked that a fair bit.
I can imagine.
Fair enough.
Give us your off-pack one, and then give us the real answer afterwards.
So it's making mechanical stuff move. It's bringing that to it. Good old having George in the background.
That's right.
So it's a combination of the traditional mechanical engineering and software engineering and electronics, and it's bringing it all together. Like in the modern world, try and find something that's mechanical that doesn't have electronics and software in it. Your fridge and your toaster and everything has it. So when I was looking at my course back in the day, when I was still at school, I was like, well, everything's going this way. Why would I potentially look at a straight mechanical engineering degree, which is what I wanted to do initially. And sort of broaden that a bit. So it's really a fusion of those things coming together.
Perfect. So, any of the kids watching this, and I'm going to tell my kids, they truly can, in New Zealand, have a career in robots.
Oh, definitely. No, I think New Zealand's going to be poised to one of the best places to actually do this work too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because
we've got such a good environment for support, government support, tech ecosystems. You see what's been developed here in the Bay of Plenty with your angel networks, your plant techs. Everything else is becoming and actually building and amassing around this. I mean, it's been amazing, the change that we've seen here in the last 10 years since I've been in Tauranga. It's phenomenal. You're seeing less people moving away for careers and actually more people coming back here for it. It's been a real neat progression.
That's got to feel good. That's got to feel really good. Yeah. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's all about people being where they want, doing amazing stuff, and you're making it happen.
Yeah, and it's doing cool stuff too. Like it's applied research. It's actually coming up with real world outcomes.
Yeah.
It's exciting when you see your robot out there helping someone for the first time. It's a buzz.
Wow, that'd be cool. Yeah.
How many people can say that? Come
Yeah.
on. Well, I'm looking at you people out there. How many can say, when you see your robot out there helping people, what do you do that can come up with a line as cool as that? Tell us. Because if you can, you get a T-shirt.
Cool.
And my mouth will fall open. Sorry, you were going to say about at the end of the day, it's the having the people back here.
Yeah, what I really wanted to say was I really enjoyed Arima's talk this morning from Finisterre about one of the challenges we do have in New Zealand is that $2 to $10 million gap. So getting these companies globally facing is actually really challenging, and so I've spent a lot of time in the global ecosystem to really try and understand how do we get New Zealand more global facing, and to be able to meet people like George from Yamaha, and then to get Yamaha to come to New Zealand and actually invest in New Zealand companies has been a really major achievement, and the benefits of that are it opens us to global channels, it opens us to new experiences. When we're thinking about we're making a machine, but we haven't got the experience like a Yamaha has in actually the manufacturing of that equipment, for example. So the strength of those partnerships become real exciting for us, because when we build our robotic platform or our Apple Packers, to have some of the best engineers in the world looking at design for manufacturing around what we've done, and say, hey, there's not a lot we can change, but then for them to look at ways to reduce the cost in our manufacturing becomes incredibly powerful for us. And to find a partner that's really focused in the same area, they recognise the challenges around producing enough food for the world, which is a really good for the world story.
Yes.
So I just think it's, my message is it's never an easy journey. Robotics Plus has been a 9-10 year journey, and we're only just starting.
Yeah,
because you have to build the talent, you have to build the understanding around the technologies before you can actually start to really go and apply the technologies. And now that we've built some of that talent and that understanding that technology, we're now in this great position where we can go and apply these technologies in real world solving issues, but having great global partners to actually achieve that.
Wow. So I have a question for you, Steve, from Sergio. He's asking how the government contributes or helps companies like yourselves. Is there ways for the government to get involved and help you? Tax deductions, things like that, or initiatives?
We've had a great relationship with the government. Again, I find the government R&D support system really, really good. A lot of people, you hear different stories, but I think it's about how you engage is the challenge. So I spend a lot of my time really engaging and understanding how the system works and how we can help each other. But we've had great support from the government.
Pull that a little bit closer.
We're
fighting a speaker system.
We've had great support from the government all the way through Robotics Plus, right from the inception of having some master students funding or PhD funding support for the likes of Alistair, right through to our MBI project. So we're doing with our robotic platform, harvester, pollinator, that's a $7.6 million funded project with government and contestable science. That money doesn't come to us, but it's going to the universities and masters and PhD students actually working on our technology in a commercial partnership with Robotics Plus. So we're getting to create robotic talent, we're supporting that ecosystem, but not only that, we're getting the outputs of that coming into our commercial opportunities and being able to apply that into real products in real world. And then we've actually been able to take some of those students on into full-time employment after the project. So I think these initiatives are fantastic. Kellerman's another great supporter. So we've had fantastic project support through a couple of our projects now, where they've co-funded that tech development with us, where we've had the real technical stretch. And New Zealand Trade and Enterprise are now with us and working with us as well, and they've been incredibly helpful, not only from a funding point of view, but that introduction to the capital markets, their capital team, to then their teams that are based offshore in markets, to getting access to connections. So I think we've got a great ecosystem. I think a lot of people just don't understand how to really optimise the opportunity that exists.
So that point you said before at the beginning is just work it out and get the relationships and then get into the process.
And I'm not sure how many masters students we got but they're sort of, there's funding even to help support bringing masters into.
Yeah.
We have about 6, but we've just employed some of them now, so it's kind of
So you've taken up all of them at the moment?
Yeah.
Oh, there'll be some more later.
Yeah.
That's
Wonderful. Right, for those that have just gone, by golly, it can be done in New Zealand. How do they get in touch with you to say either I want to be a part of this, or they go, I want to do what you do but in a whole different place, in a different sphere? How do they get in touch?
I'm going to hand that on to Alistair.
Excellent.
Nicely delegated.
Well, if it's interested in Robotics Plus directly, we've got info@roboticsplus.co.nz. It's the easiest way to get in touch with us directly, and the team will follow through on that. But I guess the other side is, we've got some great partnerships with the likes of University of Waikato around the engineering courses and things. If people want to get into this space and learn that, they've also coming through with the mechatronics side now, which is pretty exciting. University of Auckland are doing some of the software side of things with us too. So, look, we've got some great universities and ways that people can get these skill sets and actually come through. And, what we're wanting to do is support that more. And we've got fourth-year student projects going through those universities now, so they can be engaged directly with industry-relevant projects as they're coming through, getting some of that experience and, getting engaged with that and bringing those guys into the team so we can continue doing cool stuff with cool people.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I'll make one further comment on that, is that I think we need to challenge our education system. We're moving into, New Zealand's a small country, and we need to move into that smart economy of talent and talent development. And we need more engineers. It's very underrepresented in New Zealand. New Zealand manufacturing design cannot find enough people to employ. We're having to employ offshore people. We need to start these processes really, really early in the piece. People need to understand the maths classes they need to be taking even before year 9 to be able to come into these degrees and PhDs. So we need to really step that up as New Zealand. We're doing the same education program when I was at school a million years ago. So we really need to step this up. The world's changing, and education should be changing as fast as the world is. So I really do say engineering is a great career. It's going to be one of the key careers in solving a lot of global problems. When you think about environmental impacts and all those sustainable things, engineering will have a major role in those, and we need to get more people engaged in engineering in New Zealand.
Perfect.
Can I also add to that as
Go,
well?
of course you can.
Yeah.
On a roll.
We're getting through that. Also, the other side from it, you don't need a PhD or a master's to get into this game. Really don't.
Yeah.
For me, that was showing the ability for then people to back you and come in and show your ability. For me, and that's when we're hiring people, that's to show your base level skill set. Hey, you've got a suite you can bring in, but it's your aptitude, it's all these other things and creativity and that comes around it. That's the key for me. So I don't necessarily think don't be intimidated that you need to go in and do a master's or a PhD to get into this space.
Tell us your 5 core technologies that we actually have to combine to make robotics happen. It's not just engineering.
Can we do two more minutes? Oh, we can do 2 more. Otherwise, Courtney's going to come out and punch me. We don't want to see that. You want to see it.
I like to make things happen.
No one wants to see that, do they? Don't put yeses in there.
Yes.
So the 5 core technologies?
Yeah, so we're really fusing together is the robotics side, so actually custom robots, and you can see part of our technology over in the corner behind you there. Well, very little bit of it.
Yeah, a little bit of it, yes. We'll have photographs of that.
We'll be sharing it.
Cool.
Yes.
Makes it easy for me. So we're developing custom robotics for these applications. We're finding that for some of these, to get commercial relevance at the end, we're needing to do that ourselves. We can't always take off-the-shelf technology.
Yeah.
But then that sort of theme goes across our software side as well. So we've got guys, sorry, I shouldn't just say guys, we've got girls
People.
in the team too. It's a mix in there, which is cool. Coming through and in the software realm as well. So we do everything from what we call machine vision. So it's actually giving machines awareness, and people get a bit freaked out when you say that, but it's not the level of Terminator stuff that is often perceived.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, well, give us a few years. But
The Apple Terminator killer. Yes.
so it's been our the base level of machine vision, taking a photo and then analysing it and determine what's going on in that image.
Yeah.
And that's what a whole heap of our machines do, to then do that in 3-dimensional space or or do that with other sensors as well. It's that awareness, and then getting machines to talk to each other. We then bring some analytics in as well. So like our apple packing machines again, which is in the background there, we can then log into those machines live, and we can be getting metrics and data off those and understanding how the performance is going, what they're doing, when they need servicing, when all these other things are coming through on it. So we're bringing together a whole lot of analytics and software and mechanical and electronics and everything to make this
Mashed
all
into
happen.
one thing.
And it's kind of where it's exciting, because it's crossing so many disciplines too.
That's what makes it
Wonderful.
interesting, right? The variety, right? You're not just doing one little aspect. You're doing all these things to make the thing do its thing. Too many things.
That's really it.
That's many things.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me really entertained and
quite amazing.
excited. Like,
Yeah.
you get to do so much.
Fantastic.
And I just grow fruit.
I eat fruit. Does that help?
Yeah.
Just
Thanks for
in
growing it.
saying that even though we've got all this engineering and software, we actually have to then think about the other side, which is plant physiology, and how would you grow crops for automation in the future.
Right, yeah,
So there's this whole other piece around, you know, if we try and build robots for the way people are currently growing, that may be quite impossible, but if people start to grow differently for automation,
Yes.
Right.
then the game changes. So not only being vertically integrated in the whole supply chain, we're able to test and trial different ways of growing to say how can we optimize automation. Because there's no point, we're not going to build robots for solving inefficient growing systems of today.
Yeah.
We want to build robots that are solving, the technology gaps for efficient systems into the future. So there's that tension about everyone wants us to solve their existing problem, but your existing problem is impossible. Start thinking about how you grow for automation.
So they have to grow with you, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Think
you've not only have you got the mechanical engineering, software, vision type education piece, you've also got we need really smart plant scientists, plant physiologists about saying how can we imagine growing in the future for automation. So, and at high density, for the resource we have to feed the 10 billion mouths.
It's like, they invented the car and they said, look, we're not making a car that's going to go on those horse tracks. We can invent a road, and that's what we invented the car for, the road, not the horse tracks. Yeah, so let's focus on doing the next bit. Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I have
Thank you,
learned
gentlemen. That's
so
great.
much.
Yeah.
If nothing else, I've learned what
Megatronics.
is.
What a cool
Awesome.
word.
Really
Love it.
appreciate it. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alice. Appreciate that.